Get as much interest as you can. It's free money. Think of the interest as free money. So I gave some examples here. And let me get rid of myself just so you can see the references, where this came from. But get as much money as you can. It's free money. And here's an example. Today, a 6-month treasury bill. So that's a bill, a bond. It's a short-term bond that's issued by the U.S. government, still the most secure issuing agency in the world. And as of Friday, when I pulled the information for this, it was at 5.34%. That means $1,000. You're earning 5.34% over a year. That asterisk is there because that assumes that you're reinvesting that 6-month treasury bond again for another year. Well, you earned on that $1,000 $54.73. If you did a 1-year CD, that would be 5.05%. You would earn $51.69. So what I want to illustrate here is that if this was just passively put into a savings account, and maybe you're earning 0.25 or 0.35%, that'd be much, much less than the $54.73 that you could earn by using a 6-month treasury bill, or even a 1-year CD, or even a good money market account. So this is not a recommendation to buy, sell, or hold a 6-month treasury bill or a 1-year CD or even a money market account. I'm just using these things as an example. Now, go to the CD for a second. $51.69. You're getting 5.05% over a year. So obviously the numbers are higher than, because of compounding, but compound interest. And it depends. CDs are different. That's another thing you got to pay attention to. Sometimes they compound monthly, sometimes they compound daily. So you've got to ask, these are terms. So what does that mean when something compounds daily compared to monthly? It means that 5.05% is applied every day, and new interest grows on top of that 5.05 either every day, or it's applied every month and it grows on top of it every month. And the amount that you'll get in the end, if it's compounded monthly, will be less than the amount if it's compounded daily. So that's something also in those terms that you want to pay attention to. But if you're getting an extra $50 a year on your money, and you're saving yourself $60 a year, right? Using the example of my daughter who is now no longer paying that fee for that program that she was in. So that's $110 a year. That's significant, right? And that's better. This really is free money. Better that it comes to you than the banking institution. Listen, I invest in some banks, and I want the banks to perform well, but I want you to perform better. Right? And be able to keep that money and earn that money for your accounts. Now let's talk about loans. So that's what we just spoke about, were savings and deposits. And again, you want that safety, convenience, and get as much interest as you can. Pay attention to the terms. And those little incremental things will help grow your money over time. And they're very, very important. But pay attention to this, if nothing else, because loans will suck the savings and the money. They are money stealers. It just takes it from you. They're absolutely necessary. There are times in your life when it's going to be necessary to have loans, mortgages, car payments, buying a car, things like that. Of course, you could buy a car without a loan, and if you can do that, that's great. Most people, when you're younger, you can't. But I applaud you if you can, and that's better if you can. Student loans, obviously, big problem in our country, but you got to manage the student loans as well. So you may not want to buy a car on a loan if you already have student loans. You got to manage this debt and try to keep it as small as possible. So pay as little interest as you can. Debt steals your money. Consider the cost of the items you're purchasing or you're committing to with financing costs included. I'm going to say it again. Consider the cost of the items you're purchasing or that you're committing to with the financing costs, the cost of debt included. I'm going to give you an example of what I'm talking about. Here's the average credit card debt. I'm going to just I'm going to show you here, just so you have where the information came from. It coming from the Federal Reserve for accounts with balances that assessed interest from November of 2023. So it's actually a little higher today. But the average credit card interest rate in the country is 22.75%. Shocking to me. It's not what I expected to see when I researched this. 22.75%. So if you're using credit cards to purchase things, whether it's your food, I said, well, first of all, I did a little poll. Well, really, I asked my daughter when I was putting this together. I said, what do college kids spend if we use $500? What do college kids spend $500 on? And she was texting her boyfriend to try to have this conversation as well. But it really came down to, well, probably more than anything, food. Whether it's dining out or just buying groceries, kids are putting their food on credit cards. So I asked yesterday to the group of students, and sure enough, they raised their hand, food. So I want you to think about that, because let's talk about a $500 credit card balance, a $500 credit card balance. If you just pay the minimum payment of $10 a month, that's the average minimum payment. So you got a $500 balance. You're paying $10 a month minimum payment. Let's look at how long that's going to take you to pay off and what the cost is going to be. So here we are. Just at $500 balance, paying $10 a month, it will take 52 months, approximately 4 years and 4 months, to pay off the $500 purchase. The total interest you're going to pay on that $500 purchase is $261.25. That means whatever you bought, whether it's food, whether it's, whatever it might be, the total cost of that is not $500. It's $761.25. $761.25. $261 added to that $500. So when you're ready to put your credit card down, when you're ready to run it through the scanner, it's so easy. Just tap it on the machine. Think about, is this set of clothes, sneakers, leggings, whatever, is this worth $760 to me? Even if I'm willing to pay $500, is it worth that extra amount? That helps you. I think that helps you. Let's talk about credit scores. This is something that you should be keenly aware of. Pay attention to your credit score. You want to work to build your credit score. You can get your credit scores if you're using a credit card. A lot of credit cards will help monitor it. You should pull your credit score once a year. You can do that for free. Go on. I think it's freecreditscore.com. Be careful, because there's some scam sites out there. But pay attention to your credit score. Work to build your credit score, make it higher, and strive for a higher credit score. Because this is why you should do that. I want you, let me come out of here again. I want you to look at the different interest rates for different scores. So I hope you see my cursor here. So the lower credit scores here is deep subprime. That's the lowest. And it ranges up to, I think it goes to 900, but it shows here 850. So maybe it's just 850. A lot of people are in this category, this non-prime. Maybe when you're first getting your credit together. There was a young woman in the presentation yesterday who told me that her credit score was super prime, so she was in the top category. That's great. But even at super prime, for a new car, she's going to pay 5.64%. If she buys a used car, she's going to pay 7.66%. That's a lot of interest, folks. But let's look at where the average person is probably going to start out, and maybe if they had a ding or two in their credit, they could be at 14.12% for interest. That's the amount of money you're paying over the cost of the car to be able to delay those payments over time. So that may not sound like a lot to you. It sounds like a whole heck of a lot to me. But if you're buying a used car and your credit isn't perfect, you're maybe looking at something like this and maybe worse. So what is the effect here that we have on this? Go into the next slide. If we look at a used car and you buy that car for $20,000. I asked the group yesterday, does that seem about right? $20,000? They said, yeah, that seems about right. At 14.12% for 5 years, that monthly payment would be $678.94. Now, that's something you may not be able to afford, $678.94. So you might even want to make that a 7-year payment, which they'll let you do. They being the used car sales folks or the banks, they'll let you take it longer. It just means more interest. But if you're only able to do it, if you are able to do it for 5 years, you're paying $678.94 for that car. And the total price you're paying for that car is $40,736.40, not $20,000, $40,736.40. So instead of getting, and listen, folks, I love buying cars, and I've had a lot of neat cars in my lifetime, and it can get really exciting, really fun. You think about, all the fun you're going to have in that car. But look at it sometimes and say, all right, I might be really excited about buying this car at $20,000. But first of all, have a real conversation with yourself about what $680 a month basically means. And then if you're past that hurdle, okay, I can afford $680 a month. What if you have a great job and you're ready for this? Is that car worth $40,736? You might want to handle things differently. And one of the ways that you can do that is save up more now when you're younger and you've got time to build something up in a savings account. And now reach for higher interest. Ask about higher interest. Make sure you understand the terms of your savings accounts. Make sure you understand the fees in your banking relationships. And for crying out loud, when you get into a loan, when you start using credit cards, make sure you understand the payments, not just the payments, the interest that you're paying, the cost of the goods you're really buying, and the terms of that. Thankfully, when you're talking about debt, even more so than when you're talking about savings and deposits, all these things have to be disclosed to you. But here's the thing. It used to be that it was disclosed to you on a piece of paper. Now it's disclosed to you probably on your cell phone. And you just go through and you hit the agreement buttons, or the check boxes, sign it right there on your cell phone. Do you really check it? If most people are being honest, they're going to say no. But check it. Understand. Make sure that $20,000 car is really worth $40,000 to you. When I was in my early 20s, I had an opportunity to buy a car that was very, very cool. It was a Porsche 928. It was very, very cool. A car I always wanted. And I remember standing in the kitchen in my condo and talking myself out of it because I really didn't need this car. I just wanted this car. And I worked through the math of what it was really going to cost me in other things I couldn't do because I'm spending the money on this really, really cool car. And the overall cost of the car, I broke it down and I said, I don't remember what it was, but it was, the interest rate wasn't that high for me at the time. But I talked myself out of it and decided against it. It was probably one of the best things I did financially or maybe I still have a cool 928, who knows. But really, sometimes you've got to bring yourself squarely on the ground and say, okay, this isn't the best financial decision. Now, I'm going to share another one. I had a relative call me one time and they said, hey, the neighbor down the street, her husband just passed away. He's selling a Ford pickup truck, a Ford F-250. And he said, I'm going to buy it. I want to buy it. It's $12,000. And I said, or it's $25,000, excuse me, $25,000. He said, so it's a really good deal. It's $25,000. So I'm going to take money out of my retirement account, red flag number one, and I'm going to buy this truck. So red flag number one, taking money out of my retirement account. Red flag number two, he was about 40 years old at the time. So not only is he paying tax on that money, but he's getting penalized, 10% penalty on that money. Red flag number three, he's buying it for a car. He's pulling it out for a car, which is a depreciating asset. In most cases, I know there's cars that gain value, but not this car. So 3 red flags. And I said, well, if you're comfortable spending $75,000, I really pushed it up for him, then I guess you should buy the truck. And he said, what do you mean? I just told you it's $25,000. I said, well, you're going to take that money out now, and you're going to spend it. So you're never going to have that money grow for you. You're going to take it out now, and you're going to pay tax on it, and you're going to pay a 10% penalty. If it stays in the account and it grows, it might be worth $75,000 by the time you're ready for it. You're a young guy still. And he said, oh, yeah, that makes sense. I didn't think about it that way. So when can I get my money out? He says. So he didn't listen to me. So he's probably out about $60,000 or $70,000, maybe $75,000 for his retirement to buy a truck. So that's probably not the best deal. But listen, here's the recap of today. Use your banking smartly. Pay attention to fees. Pay attention to your interest rate that your money's earning. That's free money. Let your money work hard for you and get as much interest as you can. Push the people who are doing it. Ask them, what's your best interest rate? Sometimes they just, they don't offer it to you. Even if it's not the highest interest rate you can find in the world, maybe they're paying you 4% and you get 5% out there, but you're comfortable with the bank. That's okay. You're getting something unless you want to move your money around. Maybe you learn how to do that later. But get the most interest you can. Pay the smallest amount of fees and hopefully no fees. And pay attention to terms on your banking relationships with savings and deposits. Certainly pay attention to debt. Debt will rob you of your future enjoyment of your money. Debt is necessary at times, but be careful. Be careful of the interest rate you're paying. Be careful of the terms, and look at your cost of the goods or the items you're purchasing, the total amount of the goods and items you're purchasing with the financing costs, the debt service, the debt cost, not just what you're paying for it today when you hand or scan or tap your credit card. All right, next week, we are going to talk about growing your money. So next week, we're going to start talking about stocks. And the following week, we're going to talk about bonds and exchange-traded funds and mutual funds. I hope that was helpful. That's the webinar and the Financial 15 for today. If you have questions for me or would like to schedule time with me, you can do so at questions@attleborowealth.com. That's questions@attleborowealth.com. You can check out our website at attleborowealth.com, where you can find videos, past videos that we've done like this. Also, of course, our YouTube channel. There's a lot of videos. We crossed over 200 videos on our YouTube channel a couple weeks ago, so that's kind of fun. I really enjoy these videos and these webinars. I enjoy and appreciate the fact that you take time out of your day every week. For you folks who watch it live, and for all you folks who watch the recordings, I appreciate you too. Have a great week. Take care. Bye-bye.